Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Welcome, dear guests, brothers and sisters. My name is Hiba Rahim, and I'm here with Megan Fair on behalf of the Council on American Islamic Relations, introducing very excitedly on this wonderful March 1st, Women's History Month. Of course, such a noble event and month and group of people to recognize, and I'm very excited that we have a wonderful presentation coming up almost every day this month. And before we get into the details, I'm going to hand it over to Megan Fair to talk to you about what to expect this Women's History Month and why it's so important and why CAIR is investing so much time and effort and energy to representing women in history and contemporary women. Megan.
Thank you so much, Hiba. It's so great to be here this afternoon. I wanted to start off by thanking you for not talking about the weather in Florida. I will say it is very cold in Ohio today, so I'm bundled up, trying to stay warm. So apologies if my teeth are chattering throughout. It's just freezing in here today. But I'm really honored. I'm really honored to be able to talk with you all today about the importance of Women's History Month and what CAIR is going to be doing throughout March, and the many different ways that you all can engage with us and share your stories throughout March. You know, Women's History Month is a time for us to celebrate the many magnificent achievements of women throughout our nation's history. It's a time for us to reflect on leadership and contributions, and even the personal and professional sacrifices of women over the ages, particularly those who have taken bold and often really unpopular action that's directly impacted our lives now. It's a time for us to really honor and lift up women who are not necessarily in the spotlight. I know we know of those kind of household names, talk about our vice president or others, right? But there are so many women whose names will never be really known, who have made a huge impact on our world. And those are the women, who have really also impacted our collective future by instilling the values in countless generations of children throughout the world. So we all know of mothers, right, who have really put in that hard work of building our future together. So this month at CAIR, what we'd like to do is offer a host of programs that will allow for you to share the stories of those women, of the women who have impacted your life, hopefully those women who, are the unsung heroes. We would like to give them some space, a platform for you to share their stories and to share how they have impacted your life. So this month at CAIR, what we aim to do is to launch a video challenge called She Is, or hashtag She Is. And what it will be the opportunity for you to share a story of a woman in history who was instrumental in shaping who you are and what you do today. And we would invite for you to send us a 60 to 90 second video, send it to us on any of our social media accounts that you'd like. And what we'll do is we'll share it throughout the month of March, and we'll lift up those voices and really help for folks to understand, the true impacts of women throughout history. In addition to the She Is video campaign, we're also going to be making an effort to highlight the many accomplishments of Muslim women, particularly, who have had a huge impact on history. And these are often the women that are missing from the national conversation. So we're going to launch Women's History Month with a more in-depth conversation this coming Thursday on our CAIR on Air that will talk about, the actual history of Women's History Month, who created it, and who it has served and who it has not served, right? And we'll hope that this will open a discussion about how we best hold space for others, how we best amplify the voices of those that are most marginalized. And so I hope that you all will be able to join us on Thursday's CAIR on Air event so that we really can delve into the history of Women's History Month and how we can better use this platform to amplify the voices of all women. And then the third thing that we're going to do, and I'm really excited because I've been yammering on for so long to pass it back to you, Hiba, to hear more about this. The third thing that we're going to be doing is educating the world on women in Islam and the role of women in Islam, and really helping to help people understand more fully what role women have in the faith. And with that, I would love for you, Hiba, to tell us a little bit more about what we can expect in March in relation to women in Islam.
Absolutely. Thank you, Megan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I start in the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. I failed to greet everyone with the Muslim greeting at our intro. So assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you all, dear brothers and sisters again. Women's History Month, this month will focus a lot on Muslim women. CAIR's presentation will focus a lot on Muslim women. And the reason that's so critical, and the reason that's so important, is because Muslim women are among the most misunderstood group of Muslims or of people in society. As an identifiable Muslim woman, when I go out in public, I can tell by the way people look at me. I can tell by people's interactions, sometimes subtle, sometimes unsure, sometimes mean, sometimes aggressive, and sometimes very offensive, that there is an immense amount of misunderstanding about Muslim women. And so throughout this month, we'll take you all the way back in some general spheres, like many of us have heard of Susan B. Anthony, but have you heard of Alice Paul, for example? And in the Muslim sphere, where we've probably mostly all of us heard of the mother of the believers, Aisha, but have you heard of Rabia al-Adawiyya, for example? So it's really intended to educate on certain individuals and highlight people from the past and present who really showcase the truth about what Islam has done for women historically and in present times. So let's talk a little bit about that history. I want to paint the setting first, because some of the things I'm going to explain and touch on now are so second nature, and they're privileges that we enjoy as women in the 21st century. But we're talking about the 7th century world now, the 7th century world, international globe, when the status in Europe, where the status of women's spirituality was being discussed and debated, when women were not given rights to education or inheritance, or really any of the major rights that we enjoy today. And here comes Islam in 7th century in the land of Arabia, and to a society that is equally oppressive to women, by the way. And here comes Islam, trailblazing in the area of rights for women. So much so that the rest of the world in documentation, if you research, has major problems with the rights and the elevation that Islam afforded women. So today we talk about, just a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, or 100 years ago, we marked, for example, the right to vote for women in the United States. But Islam allowed women to engage in the political process from the onset. So it gave women rights in the realm of politics. It gave women rights, and more than that, even commandments to be educated. It gave women the right of inheritance, the right to work, the right to keep that money, the right to divorce, the right to marry and choose your spouse. So many rights that we take for granted. Again, think about the time back then in the 7th century, were unprecedented in the world of women. And so really to understand and recognize that Islam was a front runner and a trailblazer in giving these rights to women is really critical to understand. In the time period, as we study Islamic history and Muslims from the past, Muslim women from the past, you read about the Muslim woman who was the scholar, the educator, who taught in the mosques and outside of the mosque, and not just to a female audience, but to male audiences, who then became scholars themselves, women who served in judicial capacities, who had to sign off on religious decisions before it passed on in certain areas of the Muslim world, women who led an army, women who joined naval forces, women who did so many things that were unimaginable for women at that time, women who were general managers of the marketplace. All of these different stories we'll try to highlight throughout the month. And so we invite our audience to tune in every single day to really get a better understanding of Islam and women in a way that the media is not going to present, in a way that sometimes is deliberately left out of the conversation, because that's not the image of Muslim women that some groups and people want to perpetuate. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about contemporary times. We already have Muslim leaders of the Muslim majority countries. We have had for decades already Muslim presidents, women, Muslim female prime ministers, Muslim female cabinet members. This has already happened in other parts of the world, in Muslim majority parts of the world. And here in the United States, we're still struggling to have that first female president, but we are very, very blessed to have our first female vice president. And that, of course, in 2020 was trailblazing for the United States. But centuries and centuries ago, we've had females in these leadership positions and positions of authority. And so it's really critical that we study Islam and women in Islam from a perspective that is more accurate and is more indicative of what Islam afforded women. There is one little caveat that I want to say, and it is that some people approach me with full candor, and they say, well, if it's true that what you're saying about women is as it is, then how about this person that I know or that person that I know? And even in that recognition, we have to understand that there is human behavior and there is Islamically prescribed behavior. And our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, the best of you are those who are best to their women. And Islam guaranteed women the right to be dignified and treated with respect. Does that mean that everybody does that? No. But that falls on the fault of human behavior that you see transcend any religion and any place in the world. And we challenge our audience to be able to look past human faults and look at authentic behavior and look at what Islam prescribes as is manifested by the examples that we're going to share. These examples are real highlights that we're going to bring to you, not just from the 7th century, not just from the 12th century, but from the 21st century, from today, from women who are really exemplary heroes. And the last thing that I want to say is Muslim women are as colorful as the hues of this earth. Muslim women are as diverse as the nations and the people who subscribe to this beautiful faith. And so you'll find women who are all sorts of types and personalities. You have the strong and the bold and the shy and the timid. You have the educated and you have those who are not so educated. But in all, Islam affords these women and guarantees these women rights that were unprecedented at the time and today really value and elevate the status of women. And that's what we hope that you can see through our program. And I encourage you to submit your videos. Again, as Megan said, submit your hashtag #SheIsVideo to any of the CAIR national platforms and let yourself be a part of the story. Share your personal experiences. Who's inspired you? What has led you to be motivated to be who you are today? So please be sure to share your experiences and your stories with us as well and highlight your personal hero. We'd love to hear your voice. And we hope that you tune in and join us for the rest of the month as we highlight individuals from the past and present who, inshallah, will help, God willing, will help clear this fog of misunderstanding and really present Islam in its truth and in the beautiful way that Muslim women are supposed to be treated and respected, and all women are supposed to be treated and respected. And hopefully we can all be the embodiment of that in our lives, in our personal lives, and professional lives. And with that, I pass it on to you, Megan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Hiba. I really appreciate your insights. And I know that I'm very much excited to learn about the role of women in Islam throughout this month. We'll be looking forward to some great graphics as well as some programs. So I encourage everyone to really sit with this information and also share it with your community, share it on your platforms and help to educate and inspire others. Please, as Hiba had mentioned, and I've said before, help us by sharing your stories and let us lift up your voices. And we look forward to engaging with you throughout the month of March. Thanks so much and have a great day.